How goes the family? Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hopefully you guys having a great and exceptional evening. I didn't even realize I can't believe it's been actually 2 weeks since I've been live like this. So it's crazy. But anyways, so the world is changing. A lot of changes I like, a lot of changes I don't like. You still have this old guard that's just going all out of the way to try to hold on to life before 2020 pandemic. It makes me laugh more and more every day. And the reason why I say it makes me laugh more and more every day, because people are going out of the way to combat the old guard. And when I say the old guard, I mean the especially in the white collar work world, where they try to hold on to people working in the office more. Even though if you go to any major cities or mid-sized cities now, you see more and more commercial real estate vacant. It's not as occupied as it used to be. So it's actually very, very, very interesting. If you ask me, I find it to be very interesting. And you have a lot of times, a lot of worker companies, corporations specifically, they've asked more people to come back is because one, like I said, the old guard is still running the yard. That's number one. Number two, you have certain entities that are losing money from a sales tax perspective, parking perspective, people shopping within those specific major cities. I mean, I've already talked about Washington, D.C. and New York City, but a lot of other cities have done this as well. They've pressured corporations and others, legislative bodies, to ensure that they kill telework in their offices, or they at least reduce it. Excuse me. Every time I go live, that's when I'm get cotton mouth in a big way. So it makes me laugh in that aspect. It really does. And because people like that make me laugh, I found this article that came out on the 25th of January of this year, 2024. And I was very impressed. I was very impressed that people are still bucking the system. And there are a multitude of U.S. workers who are getting scooped up by international companies hiring remote workers. So if a person who loves being at home says, okay, if I cannot work for a corporation that is quote unquote American based to allow me to keep my work from home lifestyle, then maybe there's a foreign company out there. It's a crazy concept. You have people, and I've said this 1,000 times, you've had people that have had their benefits cut, salary cut, in order for them to have the quality of life that they dreamed of. And in this article, there's a woman, she's working on her laptop in front of a panoramic window with a mountain view. And it's a beautiful sight. And like I said, like between me taking this trip to Montgomery, Alabama, Biloxi, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, one thing that I can say I enjoyed the most about the trip. These are not the most exciting places to visit, especially compared to the places I usually go to. But I will say with all sincerity is that I never sat in traffic the whole time I was driving around. People, nice, and like I said, I'm talking about within a 48 hour time frame. I drove up to almost 16 to 17 hours. I've never driven that much in my life. So shout out to the truck drivers. But the fact that I was able to do this, and I was at such peace, Whenever I take a trip, it reminds me like, hey, this is why you got to work your best to try to step your game up, because you're living a lifestyle that you always want to take a vacation from, and you've been trying to work hard towards changing that for years now. But when I see this woman working in her home, having a beautiful view of mountains and wilderness, some things you just can't put a price tag on. And in today's world, it's getting harder and harder to find a remote job in the United States of America, as the article says. But you might have better luck working from home for a company based abroad. Because a lot of companies have tried to do their best to go back to quote unquote what is normal. And which is sad, because like I said, to me, for corporate America, they would actually save a lot more money. They would save a lot more money. And in regards to not, and then then the corporation could possibly move to another state or another country in order for them to save money. So to me, that says a lot right there. It really does. It really, really does. So what happens when you're placed in an environment that you're not comfortable with? You have to buck against the system. You have to buck against the system. So that's just the way the game goes. Give me 1 second, family. I gotta take care of something. Anyways, family. So at the end of the day, that's how I look at it. Okay. And whenever, like I said, you evolve, you disappear. And a lot of corporations, not a lot, but some, have reverted back to not evolving, but basically regressing. Not progressing, but regressing back to the way things were before the pandemic. There's a number of American workers that have been hired by international companies that actually grew up to 62% last year in 2020, 2023. So that's a lot, 62%. Because more Americans are like, hey, my quality of life matters more than anything else. And a lot of times when you have to, to get a good paying job, 9 times out of 10 in the United States of America, especially from a white collar perspective, you end up living in a city and a state that you're not really jazzed about living. I always say, I come from the DMV. 90% of the people that come here is because they get a good paying job or good benefits. Especially if it's like a government worker from the federal, state, and local government. They can't find those same opportunities in the state that they come from, whether they may come from Wyoming, Mississippi, Texas. So they have to end up living in the DMV area. And they hate, and 9 times out of 10, the transplants are not a big fan of the DMV areas, but the cost of living, the traffic, the culture of uptightness. I always call it uptight country. So they're not too jazzed about it. They're not too jazzed about it. And I totally understand that. you know, and to be able to, the pandemic showed people, even myself, quality of life matters over than any recognition a job can ever give me. Quality of life matters over how much money I make. The biggest money move anybody can make is to be thrilled about where they live at, thrilled about the opportunities that they're obtaining or creating, and thrilled about the people that they're around on a regular basis. That is the ultimate money move in this life. I always say, people live broke because they live a life that they are trying to escape from vacations, drugs, alcohol. Escapism is a big thing. Social media, technology. Escapism is a big thing. But the pandemic taught a lot of people it's time for me to start living life. It's time for me to stop taking advantage. I mean, it's time for me to never take advantage of being able to go out to a store without a mask on my face. To be able to take advantage of being able to go to a concert, a comedy show, any sporting event. You know, now not all states were closed down, but a good chunk of the world was shut down. And life sucked. Okay. So that's all I can say. And for me, it's like the older you get, you want to be able to live in a place that you're excited about and jazzed about. You want to live a lifestyle that you love and you think it's great, not just scooting on by, scoping on by, you know, based on somebody else's mindset of this is how things are supposed to be done. So the fact that American workers have been hired by international companies up to 62%. And I know that number is going to continuously grow as more American companies want to regress back to the way things were before the 2020 global pandemic of you must be at your office 40 to 60 hours a week. Now, it doesn't sound too sexy or too good to anybody who's like, hey, man, I love being at home with my dogs, my cats, my kids. I want to be, when I take a break, I don't want to have to walk outside the building to get away from people and sit in my car. I want to go sit on my porch or go lay in my living room. I'm just saying. The article says that the report is based on 300,000 contracts between Dell, DEEL customers and workers who are both contractors and full-time employees. And roughly 85% of those contracts are for remote positions. 85%. And in a world where pensions basically don't exist anymore, more and more workers know that it's on them to ensure that they have a decent, quote unquote, financial retirement. It's on them to invest their money in a multitude of assets to ensure that things works itself out. It's on them. American workers are most likely to be hired by UK companies in the UK, Canada, France, Singapore, and Australia. I'm going to read that one more time. American workers are most likely to be hired by companies in the UK, Canada, France, Singapore, and Australia. The world has become way more global than it ever has been before. And you still have people that think that your opportunities are not endless when your opportunities truly are endless. My boy Ronald Samuel says it. If you got the right mindset, that's why I don't. And this article hits home for me. I've always had a raging beast inside me saying I want to be around people who are about something. I want to be around people who look at the world through a different lens. I want to be around people who are jazzed about things. Outside of getting jazzed about just watching a movie, a new movie that comes out, or getting jazzed about the Super Bowl. There's nothing wrong with getting jazzed about the Super Bowl, but my point is, there's so much more to life than just being entertained. There's so much more to life than just living vicariously through others. But unfortunately, a lot of people fall victim to just always living vicariously through others. It's a crying shame, but it is what it is. And that's one thing I've noticed. And for me, that's one thing I left behind in 2023. I don't want to be around people with the basic mindsets. I never really have. I don't want to be around people who they're fine with just being basic. They're fine with just talking about what happened 20 years ago. Because a lot of people, heck, that I've even grown up with, the best days of their lives were in high school, which is sad. I'm in my 40s now, so I'm like, I don't like to reflect on high school to the point where I'm saying those are the best days of my life. Those are some good times in my life, but those were far from the best days of my life. But I digress. I truly digress. Let me make sure I do this before I forget, because I'm the king of forgetting stuff. You know how it is. You have a flow, and my flow has been interrupted. So I have to, make sure that I stay on par with everything. All right, cool. There it is. Some people just never evolve past high school mentally and physically. Well, physically, yeah, but definitely not mentally. And at this point, all I can do is laugh at it. But and I remember back in 2005, 6, 7 time frame. There was this great one man who was considered my elder. He was from Louisiana. I believe he was in Baton Rouge, or they said Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He was a retired Air Force, and he said that contracting and this is when it wasn't, but it was starting to. He said contracting in corporate America is going to become a way of life, and it has. So and I remember being back in college when they were talking about how millennials were changing the job industry in regards to not staying. You had the Gen Xers and the baby boomer generation who it was normal for them to stay at a corporation for at least 7 to 10 years with the Gen Xers. And then it was definitely way more normal for the baby boomers to stay with a corporation for 30 to 50 years. When the millennials, my generation, 80s babies, who now we're getting older, when we came in the job market, we're like, well, screw that. I have a 401k that I can roll over. So, and then certain companies got smarter, like, well, okay, well, you have to stay with us for a certain amount of time so you could be quote unquote fully vested. I remember working for a company, I'm not going to mention their name, but I had to work for them for 3 years so that the money that they invested into my 401k would be fully vested, because if I would have left before my 3-year time period was up, they could have took the money back that they contributed to my 401k. Now I would have kept my money that I contributed, which basically gets invested into the stock market. But they could have took that money, and that was an incentive, because a lot of companies do things that, to give people incentives to stay on. Sometimes there are financial incentives, sometimes they're beneficial incentives like benefits. And then sometimes it's, hey, if you don't, you won't be able to keep the contributions we made to your 401k. We'll give you a bad recommendation. We'll put you on a blacklist, never get rehired. It's always something. But we are in a time now where the millennials and the generation that is behind us, the people who were born in the 90s, early 2000s, I mean, just think about it. Whoever was born in 1999, 2000, it's 2024 now. So they could be 23, 24, 25 years old. They're not looking at life like we did, us 80s babies. They're definitely not looking at life like the Gen Xers and the baby boomers did. The world has changed. The world is different now. They don't want to just have a job and raise a family and live happily ever after. Most are like, look, there's a world out here. I want to explore it, man. I want to engage. I want it all. I want everything that they said I couldn't come for. I don't want to live a basic, boring, mundane existence. And with having a regular job, a lot of times, that's what people most likely they end up living. A boring, basic existence. And I, for one, am done with, I'm not mad at people that want to live that existence, but don't look at me like I'm crazy, because there's a big world out here I want to see, that I want to engage with. The article says that the spike in U.S. workers vary for remote jobs, headquarters overseas. Bear in mind, these are foreign countries. Feels correlated with the elimination of remote roles stateside, says Dell CEO Alex Bouazizi. Probably butchered the name, but Bouaziz. Bouazizi. He knows from experience people are quitting jobs with return to office requirements to be remote. A couple of competitors did that, and we hired their best people. Competition, baby. It's the American way. So I welcome them to keep doing it. Workers with unique in-demand skills being hired internationally. Global employers want to tap into the United States talent market because it's so large and has produced some of the most influential companies in the world. Bouazizi says, we're in an international global economy. I remember when this young man told me this, and I was 24, and he's like, because we were having a debate about, jobs being shifted overseas, and the guy's like, look, we're in a global economy. You can't fight this. And I didn't really get it as much then compared to I do now. But now we're in a time where foreign corporations are recruiting American workers because they're not requiring these people to live in the countries where these people are headquartered, i.e. the UK, France, Canada, Singapore, Australia. They're like, hey, we want to tap into this talent. Who would have thought we would be living in this era? Because, in America, corporations are considered people. But guess what? Corporations are global citizens. And with things like this happening, more and more Americans are going to become global citizens. They may not have citizenship in other countries, passports in other countries, but they're going to build relationships with more and more people in these other countries and have a stake in these other countries. Because that's how global the world is becoming. Is. Not becoming, is. You can't fight it. You just can't fight it. International bosses want to leverage more United States talent to bring some of that culture that leads to the biggest enterprises in the world to their home country. Americans who work remotely for international employers tend to live in San Francisco. Interesting. Americans who work remotely for international employers tend to live in San Francisco, New York, I'm going to say the most expensive cities in the country, Chicago, Austin, which is not as expensive, but it's getting there, and Miami. All these are the most expensive cities in the country. Austin and Miami aren't as bad as San Francisco. No city in America is bad as San Francisco. But they're catching up, and Chicago isn't either, but they are catching up to New York. They just don't have the egregious taxes and whatnot. But if you look for a house to buy in Austin and Miami, it's $500,000 to $1 million plus. You just don't pay the taxes. You just don't have the income state tax. But that money that you would have been taxed from your salary is just going to your rent and going to your mortgage. Remember that. But anyways, these U.S. economic powerhouses are a playground to hire highly knowledgeable workers with unique skills and product growth and sales. Bouazizi says, some of the most common jobs are research sales, software engineering, content, and product. And the thing, before I even go forward, and here's the thing, if I live in overpriced San Francisco and I'm making great money with this international company, I could leave San Francisco and go live out in the middle of the mountains and anywhere within the United States if I wanted to. If I wanted to live in North Carolina where it's cheaper, Georgia where it's cheaper, Other states where it's cheaper and live a more rural lifestyle, I could. Once again, living a life that you don't have to take a vacation from. Getting up, logging into your computer, but then when you're done, you go out hunting, you go for a walk, you take a picnic, whatever. It could be a multitude of things, but they can work. I'm telling you. Or you live on the beach. Maybe another thing to take into consideration. I talk about this all the time. A lot of Americans are moving to third world countries where they're making the six-figure salary. They're making $200,000 to $300,000, but they're living in Panama. They're living in Puerto Rico. They're living in the Dominican Republic, Mexico. They're living in Ghana. They're living in South Africa. But they work for these foreign companies. They're still American citizens. Now they might get citizenship in another country, or they might just be illegal, what we consider to be illegal residents. But they have a name for these people. They're called expats. This subject matter is just not talked about enough, in my personal opinion. And I think it isn't talked about enough, in my personal opinion, because the narrative just needs to be, get over it, suck it up. We want you to be in the office, and 62% of the American people, 62% of the American people are like, it's probably the number's probably bigger than that. I'm like, screw that. I want to live a lifestyle I don't want to take a vacation from. I don't want to live in San Francisco. I don't want to live in cold Chicago. I don't want to live in cold overpriced New York. I want to live in the Bahamas. I want to live in Florida. I want to live in anywhere in the Gulf Coast of I want to live in Colorado, Montana. Quality of life, family. I can't put it any other way. All right. Article says that a lot of these companies are thinking, how do we build the right playbook that they've done in the United States? Boazi adds, one way is to bring U.S. workers to their companies. By age, roughly half of the American workers with contracts via Dell are between the ages of 25 and 34 years old. Younger than me, I'm 41. 18% are between 35 and 44, while 25% are 45 years or older. So people in my age range is a little bit lower, but majority, it's actually higher age range of people. So the millennials count as well. 25% are 45 years or older. 18% are between the ages of 25 and 34 years old. It's simple math. The upsides and downsides. Working remotely for an international company isn't as straightforward as simply working from home. Aside from figuring out taxes and other HR compliance issues, Boazi says it's important to consider differences in time zones, of course. In California, working for a company based in Europe may have to adjust to early hours. A lot also rides on how the company's distributed workforce is set up. Are you only American employed by a company abroad, or are you part of a large group stateside? And that's another thing to take into consideration, because if you are an American living in America, but you're working for a foreign company, that foreign company might not issue you a 1099. It might not issue you a W-2. So this is something that, like I said, from a state tax perspective and a federal government tax perspective, I actually wonder how that, I know there's a way, because you have a lot of even remote Americans, remote workers, people who are Americans living in foreign countries nowadays. And, ask Wesley Snipes, you still got to pay your taxes. You can't, just because you're an American living abroad doesn't mean you don't have to pay taxes in the United States of America. I think that only happens like if you're working, well, there's special occasions. I remember during the Iraq war and Afghanistan war days, people were working government contractors, so they weren't getting taxed from a federal perspective or a state perspective. I don't think even a state perspective, because they were in a foreign country. And I think even if you work for like the federal government, you go work abroad, you don't have to pay federal taxes. So, but that's a whole other story for another day. I'm not going to act like I'm a CPA. I'm not going to try. I can look this stuff up, but I'm not going to get into the weeds of it. But that's something to take into consideration. Article also says then cultural differences. And hey, I mean, I look at it like this. Yes, you have cultural differences, but you you've always had a big multitude, especially in the last 40 years in the United States of America, of an influx of people who immigrated to the United States of America who had cultural differences, but were able to assimilate, or not 100% assimilate, but be able to just get understand American culture, and we're able to work things out. So, and I think it's a good thing that Americans are having to get assimilated with other cultures, because one, America's been in, there's been a huge influx of people from all over the world, specifically Latin America, United States of America, in the last 30 years. Number one. Number two, it makes the young, especially just speaking about the youth, it makes them more well-rounded. So when they travel the world, they don't look as green as most Americans do, and they don't end up being like the stupid passport bros who end up getting shot, killed, kidnapped, raped, because they've gone to a bad neighborhood and roaming around third world countries with a lot of jewelry on them. That's another story for another day. I have to just leave it at that. But cultural differences come into play from small things like holiday time off. That's true. To big communication norms, jumping cultures can be quite intense. Bo Ozzy says it's something you need to be malleable for. It's not hard, but you do need to understand and accept norms to make everyone comfortable in their best work while being considerate. That being said, accepting the norms of a different country's work culture can also be a big plus. You may enjoy a different style of communication or perspective on work-life balance, or you might thrive in integrating into an organization with more diversity. Boazi says, especially if you get to work with colleagues across multiple countries. Those benefits can extend beyond the workplace, he adds. Different perspectives help you have a different lens on the world. Being able to bring a company to a new U.S. market can be a interesting challenge, he adds, and you may get to be among the first to bring U.S. culture to an international organization. And like I said, it's a win-win situation for the American worker, because, hey, they're able to learn different cultures, learn how to do things in another country from a business perspective, and then they're able to still enjoy the work-life balance of remote work. Now, the hours might be varied, but some people don't mind working those odd hours as long as they don't have to worry about going into the office. Saves gas. Gas prices are going up. Saves wear and tear on the vehicle. Car prices have gone up. Something to think about. So, anyways, article says if you're interested in landing a remote job for a company based abroad, start by using boards like LinkedIn and filtering from remote jobs based worldwide. Another resource is ATA, which lists jobs at international startups and trending companies that are more likely to have remote flexibility. For what it's worth, Dell is hiring 190 open roles around the world. A spokesperson added, ultimately don't overthink it too much. Boazi says, you'll find that people wherever you go tend to be nice. So this is good stuff. This is real interesting stuff. And I say this because before the pandemic, I remember saying that, and this is like I said, 2018, 2019, I said, the world is changing, but you still have a lot of people that are in these high positions that can't see the world is changing. And I said back then, a lot of these young people, I'm not talking about the 80s babies, I'm talking about the babies born in the late 90s, 2000s, early 2000s, mid 2000s. They're grown, or they're growing now. And they look at the world through a different lens, And they don't see the world as we see it. They don't see the world as our parents saw it. And like I said, that the work-life balance means a lot. Work-life balance means a lot. Engaging with the right people means a lot. Traveling the world means a lot. Engaging with multiple cultures means a lot. Being basic and living a leave it to beaver lifestyle is becoming a thing of the past in this country. But I think that's fine because, you evolve. To me, that's the beautiful thing about the United States of America. You're supposed to evolve. Like, that's the American way. And if you're not evolving, like I said, to the American companies that are regressing, at this point, I just say shame on you. Because you're letting talent, like Boazi said, he's like, thank you, because now you're allowing us to be in competition with you, because you're not even stealing your talent, we're just taking your talent away from you. We're taking your talent. We're like, hey, they have a need. We have a need. They have a want. We're able to work it out and make a deal. Heck, I remember even 10 years ago, a former coworker of mine, he was like, his wife was on paternity leave, and the company liked the work that she did for them so well that they were like, hey, you can telework for as long as you need. And this is 2013, 2014, 2015. So that's why it's like I said, I just think it's a bad corporate culture. And hey, I don't work in corporate America, but I did. And all I can say is it doesn't make sense from a corporate culture perspective to say we're going to regress the way things were. The world is changing. Evolution is happening. It's like I said, who would have ever thought, especially if you just think about 40 years ago, who would have ever thought that there would be an ever-growing number of American workers working remotely for foreign companies? Because I do you one better. I remember when I got out of high school, and the Iraq War happened because of unfortunate events like 9/11. In that time frame, it was becoming normal between 2001 to 2010. I'll say a lot of Americans had no choice, but they had to go work in Iraq. They had to go work in Afghanistan as a contractor because they could not find a decent paying job in the United States. And I'm talking blue collar skilled workers. I'm talking skilled white collar workers. And that was an interesting time. Because there was a transformation of the American economy at that time. And then, of course, a lot of people volunteered because, hey, they were able to make double what they were going to make back home. And then they didn't have to worry about the same tax structure. A lot of people lived in rural areas. So they're like, hey, I got a mission. I have a plan. If I can just make enough money to pay off my house, then I will do that. And after I pay my house off, not have to worry about a mortgage. And then I can live a simple life wherever I want to live at. Sacrifices. But the world is changing, it's evolving, whether you want it to happen or not. So you do what you do with that. I can't put it any other way. But family, you got your margin orders. Workers are going to continuously evolve. People are going to continuously evolve. Corporations in America have no choice but to evolve. They have no choice but to evolve. So with that being said, nothing but love and respect. Evolve. Tupac said it best. We grow, we all grow. We were meant to grow. Because either you evolve or you disappear. On that note, family, do the great thing for things. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day. And as I always say, make money moves. Are you going to live broad like a fool? I'm out. Take care.
Mike, now.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hopefully you're having a great day. If you've been watching Larry's Anything Goes programming, you know that we are not only providing great financial intelligence content as much as possible by interviewing other financial professionals, professionals in the travel industry, real estate industry, etc. and so forth, but we provide various services when it comes to specific products that we sell, from anything that you would actually find on Amazon or actually at Walmart, etc. and so forth. And we are actually providing specific products due to today's current crisis and whatnot to ensure that we provide the right services and products that you need at a reasonable price when it comes to medical face masks, when it comes to hand sanitizer, and when it comes to latex gloves and things of that nature, and etc. and so forth, toilet paper, paper towels. But we have what you need. Also, family, don't forget that Larry's Anything Goes is a part of an affiliate marketing network known as Gold Standard Partners, where you have the opportunity to buy cryptocurrency and allow others to invest with you as becoming an affiliate marketing partner. And obviously, if they purchase a package with the program, you're able to make money off their package purchases and make money off of their crypto purchases and things of that nature. If you want to join, please follow the links in the description, and I'll give you a call as soon as you sign up and purchase a package, and we'll go from there. But definitely, it's all about the best way to make money moves is to have currency with one another and to ensure that currency is always being spoken of on all levels so it benefits everyone and not just one specific person. That's a lot of things that people forget about. So think about joining the program and we'll be able to go from there. But if not, either way, it's always appreciated. And thank you for watching. And hopefully you guys have a great day and continuously make money moves so you don't live broke like a fool. Take care. As you can see, with our various products, we have our financial apparel, as you see, wearing There's Anything Goes t-shirt, financial intelligence is sexy, face masks, latex gloves, things of that nature, to obviously ensure the safety of you and your family all at the same time. We want to ensure that you get the best products and see the actual products that we're actually providing for you, and giving you another view of not only the shirts and the medical masks, but actually another view of actual latex gloves and the actual hand sanitizer. Because one thing we've learned throughout this unfortunate crisis is that we have to take more precautionary measures to ensure not only the safety for ourselves, but for our families. And having a great pair of hand sanitizers, latex gloves, and medical face masks will ensure that safety. And with all that being said, hopefully you guys will check out our online store. We have the various products that you see here. With a couple of clicks, especially if you're paying via PayPal, it makes life that much easier for you to purchase our various products, especially during this unfortunate situation. You see the apparel from Larry's Anything Goes. We have the medical products when it comes to hand sanitizer, latex gloves, medical face masks, and things of that nature, and various other products. So please check out Larry's Anything Goes. Support small local businesses. We greatly appreciate it, and hopefully that you have a good day.